top?
Yeah, I'm going to start it right now.
Okay. Welcome to another edition of 805 Sports Talk. We got the two-man team today. I'm Joe Bailey. To my right is Elliott Stern. We just got two guys, but it is a big week for the show. It is the start of the CIF playoffs on Wednesday night. I was at St. Joseph High School to see the Knights win in the CIF opener against Burbank Burroughs. The Knights won 81-67. It was really a team effort with JoJo Walker, Elihu Cobb, Scott McBeth, Connor Morinini, everybody contributing to that win as the Knights rolled, and they will play Friday night at Miracosta. So I got some highlights from that game, and I caught up with JoJo Walker afterwards.
You may notice that it's a little quiet inside Huff Schulte Gymnasium early on in Wednesday's CIF Southern Section game for the Knights against Burroughs. The St. Joseph Students section stood quiet as Steele Brooks scored the Knights' first 5 points of the game. Then things got loud. The St. Joseph Student section erupted as Elihu Cobb scored the 10th point of the game. Here, the Indians cause a turnover, but Scotty McBeth comes through with a huge defensive play. Brooks, a senior, drives and scores to extend the Knights' lead to 18-14. Brooks scores again here. The senior finished with 14 points. This time it's Scotty McBeth scoring off the pass from Connor Morinini. Of course, JoJo Walker was busy setting up his teammates, finding Brooks underneath for a score. Here, Brooks fights for an offensive rebound, finds Morinini for a pass, then comes back and hits a three-pointer, putting the Knights up 27-22 in the second quarter. Scott McBeth drives and scores at the hoop, extending the Knights' lead. Here, McBeth misses, but Brooks fights for the rebound, tosses it to Walker, who scores at the rim. Walker finds Morinini for a three. Walker, a St. Joseph senior, finished with 14 assists. Here, he scores for 3 of his 22 points on a three-point play. Walker was relentless attacking the rim. 2 more for the future Portland Pilot. Morinini with a strong finish in the second half, making it 64-50. Walker hesitates, throws up a lob, and Elihu Cobb throws it down. McBeth was effective in the second half, hitting a number of 2-point baskets. Here, he dumps it off for Cobb for 2 points. Cobb finished with 20, 16 of those coming in the second half. Walker had 12 in the first half and 10 in the second half. McBeth shakes off a defender, pulls up, shoots, and scores, much to the delight of Coach Tom Mock. Here's another assist for Walker, nearly a half-court pass to McBeth for the bucket. Burroughs simply had no answer as Walker continually attacked the basket.
The game at first is kind of, I should say, hard because nobody can say nothing. It's kind of hard to get the rhythm of the game, but once you get it, you score at 10 points, just keep going, just flowing. We go hard in forcing league, but when it comes to CIF, we try to push it a little harder in practice and in the games too. There's a little harder competition. Oh, I just see my teammate open. If he makes it, people say like, "Oh, why don't you score?" Like, if you get the ball and you're open, but your team is more open, then pass the ball. It's just basketball. That's how I play. I just want to say, stay with us, and we're gonna keep working hard for you guys.
So St. Joseph is just one of the many teams who advanced on boys basketball Wednesday night, but we had a lot of other racers advance over the weekend. Elliott, you went down to Pomona to see the season opening NHRA event. How'd that go?
That was excellent, actually. We were down there to follow Ron Capps and Alan Johnson, the 2 local guys who are involved in the NHRA. It was the 57th annual Circle K Winternationals down at the Auto Club Speedway in Pomona. And one of the rare occurrences was all three of the top seeds ended up winning the race on Sunday. Leah Pritchett in Top Fuel, Matt Hagan in Funny Car, and Jason Line in Pro Stock. Jason Line was the defending champion in Pro Stock, and he won the championship last fall at the Auto Club Finals at the same track, and he picked up where he left off, winning on Sunday. Ron Capps is the defending champion for the first time in his career in the Funny Car class. He made it to the semifinals, and that was one of the most interesting races of the whole weekend. He red lighted, which usually would eliminate you automatically, but not necessarily. So he kept going, as you should. You don't just put your foot off the nitro, it's not gas. And he raced down the track. He was against Matt Hagan, and Hagan had trouble with the steering, and it broke on him, and he was wrestling the steering, and his car veered way to the right, and he was on the white line. There's a double white line, and you cannot cross that line. You can touch it, but you can't cross it. And he got control of the vehicle, and he got it back the other way, and eventually made it across the finish line. And they spent forever going over the video replays of it, and they determined the fender hangs out over the tires, and the fender actually went over the line, but the tires didn't. So he got the race win, and Capps was left for about 10, 15 minutes wondering if he would advance to the finals, and he didn't. Puts him third in the point standings because his finish in the semifinals, and Hagan then came back and won it. So it was an interesting weekend. Alan Johnson is the consultant to two of the Top Fuel teams, Steve Torrance's Capco Contractors team, and Brittany Force's Monster Energy team. And Brittany fell out in the quarterfinals, and Steve made it to the semifinals before they ended up losing. So they got pretty far, and they're both hopeful. I talked to Steve extensively over the weekend, and he finished third at the end of last season, and he thinks they can make it another rung or two up the ladder. So their season is off and running for the Mellow Yellow Championships, 24-race season. It'll take us back to Pomona in November, and we'll get back there in November and see if we can catch a couple other races along the way. But the race now for CIF Championships, that's the big thing that's going on locally, and that's going to dominate the next couple weeks. And I tell you, the first boys basketball games, that first round, we only lost two teams. Almost everybody won, even teams that were on the road. So we're going to have still a lot more action. Same with water polo. We had most of the teams in water polo winning. Soccer is just now getting underway. There are some delays because of the weather, but it's going to be a busy few days here to see what happens in the first rounds of things like soccer, and now the second round of basketball.
Yeah, normally we would have Kenny here and Lorenzo here to help us break down all these matchups, but we'll try our best. I think one of the more interesting games from Wednesday night was Santa Maria's boys basketball team playing at Gary in the Division 4A first round. Santa Maria came away with a 79-64 road win, and they advance to the next round, and they'll play the top seed in Division 4A, Riverside's Notre Dame. So it's a tough matchup for the Saints, but if they can keep this rolling, if they can hit the three ball, which they did Wednesday night, they might have a chance to shock some teams here. Now, Joey Navarez, who I think is one of the most improved players in the area, he scored 31 points Wednesday night in that win over Gary. He can light it up. Blake Truitt is just kind of an all-around guy. He can score. I think he had 16 and some assists, and he can rebound. Isaiah Kurgan's a really key player. So if Santa Maria can knock down the threes, they can keep winning possibly in that tough division. I think it's a good division for them, but it is tough, a tough road ahead with them having to play the number one seed. They were an at-large team. We weren't sure if the Saints were going to make it in, but they were selected in Division 4A as an at-large team, and they showed that they did belong with that win over Gary. So, congrats to Santa Maria and Coach Dave Yamati on winning a playoff game. It's not easy to make the playoffs, and yet here they are winning a playoff game. Another team who hasn't got a lot of attention this year, another LPL team, is San Ynez. The Pirates hosted Oxnard Pacifica Wednesday night, and they had a 55-33 win, and they will host St. Margaret's on Friday night. So if you're a San Ynez basketball fan, they will have another home game Friday night against St. Margaret's. That will be a tough matchup, but San Ynez finished second in the LPL behind Cabrillo, and Cabrillo just crushed Artesia Wednesday night 68-37. Leandrew Knight, a junior, had 27 points in that game. Leandrew Knight, probably the best player not named JoJo Walker in the area. He had 27 points, and Cabrillo hits the road. They'll be in Lancaster Friday night playing at Paraclete. That's going to be a tough matchup. That's in the second round of Division 3A. Arroyo Grande's boys beat West Covina 57-43. Gage Antonio led AG with 18 points. Patrick Engel added 12. AG is on the road at 29 Palms. A tough loss for an area team was Righetti. They lost 51-48 at Lucerna. They had a third quarter lead. They had a lead in that second half. Couldn't hold on to win. They lose 51-48 and their season ends. But congratulations to Righetti for making the playoffs as an at-large team. They weren't guaranteed a bid, but they did win. And we just had a bunch of winners in basketball Wednesday night. Atascadero won. VCA's boys won in overtime. It was just a crazy night of basketball, and it looks like we're going to have a bunch more with teams advancing. And you know, we talked about St. Joseph at the top of the show, but I think they're probably playing their best basketball this season. I think they do have a chance to advance. They play at Miracosta. Miracosta barely beat San Marcos by 6 Wednesday night, and I think they're 14-13 on the season. St. Joseph is over 24 wins now. They did finish second in the Pac-8, but I think if they keep this up, they're going to be real tough to stop. That ball movement was great last night. Walker had 14 assists to go along with his 22 points. The ball was moving all over the place. Everybody was contributing, and if St. Joseph keeps this up, I don't know if someone can slow them down. I think they can, you know, possibly make the semifinals. I haven't looked too far ahead in that bracket, but if they are able to get past Miracosta, I think they can do some damage. And that kind of what happens with that open division. Some of those tougher teams might go up into that open division and gives, you know, other teams a chance to kind of keep advancing. I think St. Joseph could be one of those teams.
Colony and Cypress are going to play each other in the next round, and that's important because Colony's the overall #1 seed, and if St. Joseph can beat Miracosta, then they would face the winner of that Colony-Cypress game. Now, Cypress is no slouch either. They're 19-8. They're the #2 team out of the Empire League. They have a chance of knocking off Colony, but either one of them, Cypress is a similar team to St. Joe too, so either one of them could be a tough matchup for St. Joe. But right now, you know, JoJo Walker's now back to being healthy. They've got Elihu Cobb scored 20 points. Walker had 22, so it wasn't just the JoJo Walker show in that game. So they're rounding into form now. Walker's back in the rotation. He's healthy. They could go a long way, and if they can beat Miracosta, and they're going to have a tough matchup against the Colony Cypress winner, but they could go all the way if they can get past that round in the semifinal and the quarterfinals. Then they would be setting themselves up pretty good for the rest of the way. You know, and Valley Christian, they won. They were on the road to down to Santa Barbara at the Garden Street Academy, and they have a shot. And Cuyama Valley won. Atascadero won. Only Righetti and Napomo lost in that first round. So we had 3, 5, 9 teams advance already. A lot more basketball to come.
Yeah, can't forget about Mission Prep, the Pac-8 League champion. They did advance, so you know the Pac-8 and LPL both look pretty good at this point after the first round. We'll see, you know, what happens after the second round and the quarterfinals and all that stuff. But pretty good showing so far for the area boys basketball team.
Well, Mission Prep gets an Upland team that will upset Valencia in the first round. They're in the same division as St. Joseph, but they're on the opposite side of the bracket. So there is a possibility they could meet for the third time this season. But instead of at Mission Prep or at St. Joe, it would be down at one of the championship venues. So, you know, I'm kind of rooting for that to happen. That would be great. Yeah. We've seen that before in other sports where 2 local teams ended up fighting it out for a championship in water polo, for instance, and soccer. It would be great. We'd have a rooting interest for both teams. And, of course, then we'd definitely be there.
Yeah. I would be surprised if that happens. That's a pretty tough division.
It is.
I could see one of those teams moving on, but both.
Yeah, Windward
maybe.
Is still alive. They're the #2 team in the division. Colony, of course, is the number 1. So those guys have got their work cut out for them.
All right, moving to girls basketball. We haven't seen too much action yet. We're shooting this on Thursday night. Righetti and Cabrillo, though, are highly ranked in their divisions on the girls basketball side. Righetti is the top seed in Division 2A, and they will host either Rio Mesa or Torrance Saturday night. I think that game is probably going to tip off around 7. They might move it up a little bit earlier once they get the matchup set. But Righetti hosting a second-round game after having a first-round bye, I think they should advance easily. Whoever wins that game is just going to be one game over 500 regarding the Rio Mesa Torrance game. I think Rio Mesa is 13-13. Torrance is 11-11 coming into that first-round game, which is Thursday night. So I think Righetti is going to be favored no matter who they play, and I would expect an amazing atmosphere Saturday night. You get a Saturday night home playoff game is great, and I expect the same thing at Cabrillo, where the Conchs are the number 3 seed. So that would be a lot of fun Saturday night to have 2, big-time Division 3A girls basketball games on the Central Coast going down at the same time. And Lompoc is playing Thursday night against Mission Prep on the girls basketball side, and they could also advance, possibly have a home game. You never know what the matchup will be for the next round. So we could have a lot of action Saturday.
And Lompoc is the number 4 seed.
Yes.
So they're right behind Cabrillo and Righetti. So they're highly respected in their division, and all 3 of them could go a long way. Righetti's number 1. Everybody's got their fingers crossed that one of those 3 will make it to the final round.
That's another one of those where we're looking at Righetti and Lompoc. If they do both advance, they would meet in the semifinals. We could possibly have a Lompoc-Cabrillo championship game, but I'm sure Righetti would like to stop that. We can and also have a Righetti-Cabrillo championship. So there's a number of options in that division, Division 2A, where a lot of interesting Central Coast matchups could go down. And that's probably one of the last times this could happen, with Righetti moving to the Central Section and Lompoc and Cabrillo staying in the Southern Section. So it's going to be a great playoff season. Cabrillo will host either Ayala or Palm Springs Saturday night. Likely those games are going to be 7 p.m. So we'll keep you posted on the start times, but definitely home games for Righetti and Cabrillo girls basketball Saturday night. Lompoc might advance. One girls water polo team that did advance Wednesday was Righetti. They've been trying so long to get past that first round, and they did it Wednesday with a 9-7 home win over Cabrillo, and they get another home game Saturday. They're hosting Harvard Westlake in the second round or quarterfinals of the Division 3 playoffs. So if you're a water polo fan in the area, check that one out Saturday at Righetti. I think it's going to start at 4 p.m. So Roxanne, the coach over there, Roxanne Leisure, formerly Eastwood, has done a great job with that program. They can compete in that division. AG's up in Division 2, Righetti's down in Division 3, and I think that's a good division for them to be competing at. And I wouldn't be surprised if they can hang with Harvard Westlake. They're usually known as a power in water polo, but I think Righetti can definitely hang with them, and playing at home is going to be an advantage. So hopefully some people will want to check out that water polo matchup Saturday afternoon, and then move on over to the basketball gym to catch Righetti's girls basketball team play.
That was funny is that was at Righetti, but that wasn't a home game. Yes. Because Cabrillo's pool is undergoing repairs. Cabrillo was technically the home team. Now, the CIF likes to alternate. If you're a home team and you win, you tend to go on the road for the next game, unless 2 home teams win and then there's a coin flip. But since Righetti was technically the visiting team at their home pool, they are now eligible to be the home team in the next round. So they'll be home against Harvard Westlake. San Ynez and Napomo both opened with wins in the girls water polo playoffs also. So now San Ynez, because they were home, has to go on the road, but they're not going far. They're just going down to Carpinteria to play at Kate. But Napomo they beat Los Amigos, and there's one of those coin flips where 2 home teams won, so Santa Fe gets the home team, and Napomo hits the road in the second round. But we still have 3 of those 4 teams alive, and Arroyo Grande, because it's at a different division, they staggered the starts, and they don't actually play their first round matchup until Thursday. So they're definitely going to be talked about the next time we meet.
Yeah, so we have a lot of matchups going down Thursday. as we mentioned. So
there's soccer. The list is this long. It's huge.
San Ynez water polo, AG water polo, Napoma water polo, all playing Thursday. So if you want to see those results, check out Friday's Santa Maria Times. Check out, the Lompoc Record, the San Ynez Valley News when those papers come out. And a soccer update, Santa Maria was supposed to host Arroyo Grande Friday at 5 p.m., but because of the rain that's expected, that game's been moved to Saturday at 3 p.m. And Cabrillo, they were supposed to play Hart Friday, at 5 p.m., but that game's also been moved to Saturday, and it will actually be played at Houck Stadium. So that's going to be interesting for the Conchs to have a home playoff game at Houck Stadium, which is Lompoc's home field. Lompoc's girls soccer is playing Thursday night, so we'll have an update on that. We'll have an update on Lompoc's girls basketball game against Mission Prep in Friday's Santa Maria Times, so be sure to check all that out. We also have San Ynez girls soccer is hosting Pioneer Valley Thursday night. That's going to be an interesting one, so be sure to check out Friday's Santa Maria Times with all those results. And, if the schedule keeps evolving and changing, we'll be sure to keep you guys updated on that. And we'll have some great coverage from throughout the weekend and, the rest of next week with the CIF playoffs still going on.
Yeah, it's going to be ongoing excitement. It's a lot of fun. It's maddening in some ways to have to cover all these different teams because it's no longer league play where you get a nice simple Righetti versus Pioneer Valley and we don't have to leave town and they don't either. They're all over the place and you don't know sometimes who's going to be home and away until after the coin flips. So that keeps us on our toes, but it is certainly a lot of fun to have all these different high school teams that are in the soccer boys and girls, basketball boys and girls, water polo, and there's still a few wrestlers going on as they get to the individual. So there's still a lot of winter sports action, and we're already prepping for the spring teams, which are coming right up. But we thank you all for joining us and watching all these games and reading about it online and watching our videos, which on our website. So we'll keep you posted. Everywhere we do it, we'll keep you posted.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you next week.
Notice how gray Braxton's starting?